children choose not to stay with the parents because, they don't have that connection.
Yeah. True.
So I think creating good memories with children is very, very important because that's the only thing I feel, in fact, that will bring your child back to you.
Hello Riddhi, welcome to the Gut Feel Show.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
Great. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and it's a topic very close to my heart. Being a parent now, I want to listen to your knowledge and the things that you know about this.
Yes.
I would like to start with mothers, actually, the where the journey actually begins.
Yes.
How is the journey of a mother with today's time, with jobs and a lot of things around? What happens when a lady becomes a mother? What happens?
So I think there is a lot that a mother goes through, and it has been the same for many years, not like a recent thing. But you go through a lot of hormonal changes, mental, emotional changes. Your body is changing, so completely you're like giving birth to a new life. So it's like you just do not give birth to a new child. You are also, it's almost like rebirthing yourself.
True.
And it's a very, I would not say a very easy phase for mothers, definitely. Also a very beautiful phase in a lot of ways because you get that whole, the minute you see your child, you feel like you've done something so amazing.
Yeah.
That is a feeling that only a mother can experience. But nowadays, times have become very complex as compared to what it used to be, like, when our parents were raising us. Because the responsibility on the mother has obviously increased.
Yeah.
Because now they have to take care of the homes, they have to take care of children, and they also want to work.
Yeah.
So in some cases they choose to work, some cases they have to work. So it would depend on the dynamics of the family. So
But mostly people are working, and there's a job dynamics mostly existing in most of the families today. And that creates some sort of, I believe, not social anxiety, the sort of separation anxiety in the kid and the mother. I think
Yes.
that is a very difficult thing to handle.
Yes, so actually, yeah, because when you give 9 months of your life to creating something, and then you take a maternity leave, and then you get so attached to your child, so bouncing back is obviously a challenge for most mothers. But what it would depend on the mother also, because a lot of mothers, they really struggle to go back. Some mothers, they really want to go back. So it would actually depend on the mother, because I've been speaking to so many mothers, so you would see both types. Some mothers would struggle, some mothers want to go back, and some mothers, they want to go back but they don't have a choice because there's no proper support at home. So yeah, so for mothers, it's not very easy, I would say. So let's say for mother, and she wants to go back to work, but she's not allowed to go back for whatever the circumstances at home, then she might struggle emotionally because her value is to be a working mother.
Yeah.
But now,
For a very long time, they spend that working lifestyle.
Yes, she's lived a working lifestyle. Also, I feel all of us have our own values. Like, like if I had to speak for myself, so I was a working mother before I gave birth to I was a working woman before I gave birth to my child. And then after I gave birth to my child, I decided to be a homemaker.
Okay.
It was a choice that I made because I had seen my mother, she was a homemaker. I had 3 sisters, they're all homemakers. My grandmom was a homemaker. So I'd never seen a working lady in my whole house. So I felt that, once I become a mother, just like my mother was always there for me, I should be there for my child. So that was the mindset. But when I quit my career and when I decided to be home, I really struggled. Like, it was not a good feeling because, I was always like, what am I doing with my life? I wanted to do something creative. I wanted to see myself grow with my child growing, but I was not able to do that. But that's when I started, learning about parenting, because I thought that, I'm just focusing on a very small subset of women. But there are so many women out there who are actually learning, working, and taking care of their families.
Yeah.
So I was like,
a lot on the plate.
Yes. So that's when I decided that, maybe, I'm missing out on something, and I decided to learn about parenting. And that's when my mentor, she told me that you don't have to really stop your life. You continue doing what you want to do. Maybe you have to slow down, but you can include your child in your world. You don't have to change your world for your child. Because if you force yourself to live a life that you're not meant to live, you would never be able to include your child in that world, because this world anyway does not belong to you.
Yeah.
You just created it under societal pressure, or pressure that you created for yourself of being the best mom or the perfect mother. And now, because this world is anyway not your world, it's very difficult for you to include your child in this world.
True.
So the idea is to continue living in the world that makes you feel comfortable,
And
and
build
then
it around
figure out
your
a
kid.
system
Yeah.
to include your child in that
Right,
world.
right, yeah.
And also, I feel children are very adaptable. So, the kind of environment you expose them to from day one, they sort of get used to it. So, if your child is used to seeing a working mother, your child would not resist it, or your child would not feel that he's away from the mother for too long.
Yeah.
Because then you figure out a way to spend time with your child, be at your work, and you're able to do everything. In fact, the time that you spend with your child, that's very good quality time.
Yeah.
And I noticed that once I started working again. So once I started working again, whenever I used to come back home, I used to be there with my child like 100%, because I had that thing that, I've not spent time. So I used to really look forward to
That
meeting my child. It
you
was
must
not
be
like
craving
कि
that.
करना पड़ता है, पूरे दिन सहना पड़ता है. So it was not that kind of feeling. It was like, I've not seen my child for so long. So I used to really look forward to spending time with my son.
Yeah.
So I feel, there are there's good to it, but there are difficult days also that you have to go through as a working mother. Like, if I'll share one experience from my life, so I had to go for an exhibition in Dubai, like, because I was in the fashion business before I actually started as a parenting coach. So it was a 2-day exhibition, and it was a very expensive affair, and everything, all the clothes had gone and everything, and my son felt really unwell.
Oh.
So then, in those moments, it becomes very difficult to, leave your son at home and to travel.
The worst
because-
dilemma you'll ever face.
yeah. But I think it's, you manage it because you build your support group like that. You have family to look after your child. But yes, emotionally not so easy as a
difficult.
mother to go
Yeah,
through it. But there are some difficult days, there are some easy days, and I've started calling all my days growth days.
Great.
So no easy day, no
Yeah.
tough day. Every day is a,
Is a
growth day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing perspective.
Yes.
Tell me something, Riddhi, about your parenting as a parenting coach experience in the stories that you must have heard so far and the people you have helped so far. Tell me about the people who are facing problems like abusive families, and there are like a lot of females face a lot of problem at home, and everyone is not having a very good life. So
Yes.
how do they handle it? Because it also comes down to the kid eventually.
Yes.
There are difficult
Yes.
times. So any stories, anything that you want to share?
Yeah, there are so many stories, like so many, like, extramarital affairs,
Okay.
like wives knowing properly about the husband being with some other lady, but still not choosing to leave, because she has to stick around for the child.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it stems from the fact that women are still not independent. Like, I feel like money is not like the most important thing, but it actually is a very important thing, because your financial independence would also decide your emotional freedom, I feel.
Yeah.
Because if you're not financially independent, there are so many cases where you just have to be in the relationship. You don't choose to be, but you don't have a way out of it. Because either you're very scared that you're not very confident that, I can build something on my own, or I can get a job. So they choose, they're like, even if I leave, my life is going to be very difficult. So at least here, I'm not having to, worry about the financial support that I want for myself and for my child. So at least I have a roof, I have a house to live in, and, my child is going to a good school. So that, and then, when you actually move up, and you see, like, from there are also very rich families where, this happens, because there's a lot of societal pressure that if I leave, it would be a disgrace for my family. And, everybody knows my family. So I know that my husband is not doing the right thing, but, I don't know.
So they
if I
wear a
should-
mask and they live with that mask.
Yes. And I'm sure maybe, it's the opposite also. Maybe some husbands are also have to go through the same. I'm speaking to mothers. I'm speaking for the mothers here.
Yeah, it can be both ways.
Yes,
It
yes.
can be both ways because you're interacting more with the
Yes,
mother, so you're
yes.
hearing that side. But in both ways, this is a wrong thing.
Yes.
This is something where other person is living in some kind of pressure.
Exactly, yes.
And that, I think, is definitely boiling down to the kids. सबसे ज़्यादा असर तो उन पे आएगा.
बहुत आता है. In fact, there is some borderline anxiety, depression, stress that you would see in most mothers because of so many reasons. It could be, because of husband being abusive. It could also be, family not accepting you, like your in-laws or the, extended family not including you as their family, and you're going through so much pressure all the time. And if you are not feeling good emotionally, mentally, it also starts to manifest as, physical body pain, headache, and you're not
And the
able to
kid will
put your...
start picking it up.
Yes, and the child is observing the mother, right?
Yeah,
And,
very closely.
and I feel like anxiety, depression, all of these diseases are also contagious, because if you spend a lot of time with somebody who's not happy, you would also start to feel the same eventually. Right? So I feel that for the child, it is very, very difficult, because when you're in that zone, you get very irritable, and it all comes out on the child, because we know that, children would not leave us. So it all comes out.
Also, Riddhi, tell me something. When this is happening, a lot of parents might come to you with maybe not the relationship issue, but maybe they have identified that their kid is going through something, some maybe disorder or disability they are identifying, or they are not. A lot of times, I believe they're not even identifying it. They're just thinking that there's some problem that the kid is creating as an excuse. So, how to identify some, maybe if there's a learning disorder that the kid is going through, but a lot of time parents are ignoring it, or they're beating the kid down, or just saying कि मतलब जानबूझ के कर रहा है, या is just giving an excuse. So are these cases around?
Yeah, so I think there is a lot of, because of information, I feel like too easy access to information also can be very confusing sometimes, because, we've started to depend on Google a lot.
Yeah, true.
So one is, of course, as a mother, you don't want to accept that there can be anything wrong with your child. So you initially, when a mother notices that, maybe something, I feel it, but she could feel it, but she's not ready to accept it, because it's going to be very difficult for her. So in some cases, they would actually delay the tests and evaluation, because they're very scared that, what if the reports say that, my child has a speech delay, or my child is ADHD, or my child is,
It's a very big fear. They want to avoid that
yes,
fear.
so they're very scared and they want to avoid it. And I don't blame them, but you have to get it done at some point. So the sooner the better, because early intervention can really help the child.
And if the more you delay, the impact will become larger on the
Yes.
kid and the family together.
The kid, the family, and of course, it would take more time to actually reverse the symptoms that you see. And so it is not easy, but of course, if you are understanding that there is something, you should definitely get evaluated. And how do you see that there is a problem? You actually, if your child is not speaking till, let's say, 2, there's no reason to worry, like maybe a few words here and there, because some children do speak later. But usually you'll see kids, when they are 1.5, they'll start to speak a few words, and they'll start to connect 2-3 words together. If you see that your child is still not doing it, it's okay. Maybe there is nothing wrong with your child, but it is recommended that you get a speech evaluation done. Go to a speech pathologist, get it evaluated, because just knowing that what is the next best step can really help you as a parent and the child, because you're not spending days feeling confused. You're not just spending days feeling ki sab theek hai na, because that also creates a lot of pressure. So when you know that, okay, fine, now there's nothing to worry, you can just relax. And if there is something to, do, then you can take the next.
I think that is where this guidance and this coaching is needed, because otherwise, at a lot of time in the silos, people start ignoring things and delay things. And also, Riddhi, broadly, can you help me understand what kind of problems the kids are facing which are bothering the parents? Like, I even hear that with a lot of TV and a lot of digital media, autism is increasing, a lot of things. So, can you elaborate something on that?
Yeah, like because of TV, I'll share with you one story which happened with a very close friend of mine. So she was showing her child Tom and Jerry on TV. And both Tom and Jerry are like mostly mute characters. So they don't speak. So the child thought that's what he's supposed to do. So, he was not speaking at all. And then for a very long time, she could not figure out that why is this happening with my child. And then, she went to an expert and they did some tests, and then they asked her a lot of questions, what you're doing, this, that, and then what are you showing your child on screen? And then, Tom and Jerry came up. And then they were like, they did not, even they were not able to identify that it is because of Tom and Jerry. But then they asked her to stop screen time for some time. And just within a few weeks, he started speaking a few words.
Oh.
So, like showing screen time, of course, because is not so good at a very early age.
Yeah.
Also, now what has happened is parents have become very busy with
Yeah.
technology and with the world become, so they are also not communicating a lot with children.
Because all the time, I believe a lot of multitasking is happening.
Yes, a lot of multitasking is happening and very little communication connection is happening, because earlier, there was very little to do otherwise.
Yeah.
So we were mostly sitting, talking, or because there was no gadgets, there were no television, no phones, no laptops. So, but now, you'll see even in family tables, you'll see everybody sitting with a mobile phone. So there is very little interaction that's happening. So the child is also not listening to a lot of people speak. And that also happens. Also, when we were little, or, we were like so many children growing up together. And now, we've started living in societies and flats.
Yeah.
There are very few children that you can interact with. Like some societies, they have a lot of children. But, there are also, the lifestyle and the way we are living has become so, isolated.
And very robotic. It's
That
just,
you don't get enough children to interact with.
Absolutely.
Plus, there's so much fear and scare that, I can't let my child go alone.
A lot of trust issues.
Yeah, I don't blame the parents. I remember my time when I was 6, I would easily leave the house. I used to walk till the market, buy stuff, and I used to come
It
back.
was very different
Yes,
back
and
then. I
now my son is 6. I feel so scared to let him go alone within the society. Also, I feel
We
very
used to
scared.
go to parks very freely, come back home,
Yeah.
but that doesn't happen now.
And right now, I think that, I sometimes feel that why was my mom not scared?
Yeah.
Like, कि कोई गाड़ी आ जाएगा, लग जाएगा. तो अब मुझे इतना डर लगता है that even if my son is going नीचे in the society, I feel scared that what if some car comes, hits him. But my
Because
parents,
actually, I think also media has created a big role in this. There are a lot of newspaper and things that we have seen while we were growing up
Yes.
was 90% all negative news. See, it is good to know the
Yes.
Cons, but if you don't know the pros of going out, or if the media should be balanced in that ways.
Yes.
They should have also told us that how important is forest bathing for your family, which is
Yes.
like go to the forest, go to
Yes.
the trekking, go to hiking, but no one told about. They were all the time telling ki mat jao, mat jao, mat jao.
Yeah.
And because fear grows very fast, it grows exponentially. It started growing very 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 widely in the society.
Yes.
I think, but on the other hand, kids grow very well if they are out in nature, playing out, getting dirty, falling
Yes.
around. A lot of things happen in that.
Yes. So I think there is a little bit of that also that is happening.
Yeah, it
but
should
I
come back, I
think not to the extent to which it used to happen, because now, the world has changed. It's a different place. And I feel that we have to also be a little careful, because that's also important. Because children have become very smart also, no? They just want to leave and they don't want to come back. And all, like, like a friend of mine, her son, if he feels irritated, he'll just leave. He'll not want to come back. So, it could be anything. So, as parents, you also have to understand your child properly before you allow those things.
It's complex.
Yeah. But as a family, I think for these things, spending a lot of time together, talking, chatting.
The outing is important.
Outings, small experiences. Doesn't have to be a long holiday,
small
but even
picnic,
like a small
something,
experience with
like
your
at times, I
child.
remember we take our kid to Nehru Park and we
Yes.
go with a mat and some food and water.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
a small picnic for an hour or two, and then we come back.
Yeah,
It's a
those
very
small
good time,
and it will make you feel so good as a
We love
parent
it.
also.
It is a
Yeah.
very good experience.
Yes.
And plus, I am very curious about this thing that you mentioned, that Tom and Jerry, the cartoon was silent and it was impacting the kid. I think on the other hand, there are also a lot of irregulated content on cartoons, which is very aggressive, violent.
Yes.
I believe that is also impacting the kids to become aggressive and violent.
Yeah, because children learn from what they see.
Yeah.
Not just children, even as adults.
We all do.
So,
Observation is.
whatever content you're consuming, you would eventually start to think those thoughts, you would start to feel those emotions, and then you eventually start to behave like that.
Yeah.
So that's why, for us also, it's recommended not to consume a lot of negative media.
Yeah, true.
Because if you're consuming that, you would start to feel those low emotions and then low vibrations, and it would all reflect in your actions. So it's best to consume good quality content, even if you're giving content to your child, because now, we are born in a world with technology. So there is no keeping them away from technology, but you have to have a system
Regulation,
around it.
some kind
So
of
you have
regulation.
like I tell mothers that, it would be very wrong for me as a coach to tell you कि बस 15 minutes screen time दीजिए या 30 minutes screen time दीजिए, because lifestyles are very different. So maybe for me it's very easy to tell you that give 30 minutes screen time, but let's say if you're a working mother, you're working from home and you have a meeting to attend, you don't have anybody else to take care of your child. And as a parenting coach, if I tell this mother that you cannot give more than half an hour, I'm actually putting a lot of pressure on the mother by telling
She will
her
not
that
be able to focus on work and the child.
and
both,
the child.
Yeah.
So then I tell them that, understand your life and then make peace with whatever screen time that you have to give your
And
child.
maybe gradually reduce it.
Yeah.
Don't reduce it dramatically, but maybe gradually plan things so that you can come from 1 hour to 45 minutes and then to 40 and then to you will not even realize you'll come to 30 because you then slowly plan your life. Suddenly these things can cause a lot of anxiety and stress that now I have a very important meeting, my promotion is dependent on this and my kid is looking forward to me. I think there's a lot of chaos that comes in.
So I tell them that, you take a piece of paper and write your maximum permissible screen time that you are okay with giving your child. Of course, it cannot be like 4 hours, 5 hours, but something in the range of like maximum 1.5, 2 hours in intervals, not together. But whatever you feel you can manage. And once you've written that number on that sheet of paper, you stick with it. Right? So, like for me, it's like 30 to 45 minutes. That's what I give my son. So just like that, each one of us need to have like a maximum permissible screen time that we decide.
And making it more structured in the way that you're mentioning, write it down so that you stick to it.
You stick to it and avoid giving like phones and iPads, which is like touch screen, because that's even more harmful. Because what happens is like when you give any touch screen to your child, the screen is pretty much doing everything that your child is asking the screen to do. But children, they start to extend the same expectation from living beings.
Like they would like to zoom into a lot of
not zoom in, but like let's say if they tell their mother that, I want this. But if the mother is not going to get very irritated because now they are getting used to getting all their work done. So they are extending the same expectation to their parents, to their family or friends that, how can you not do what I'm asking you to do? Because the screen is pretty much doing.
They're getting instant gratification on the screen, but not in the real life.
So I think it leads to a lot of irritation in children.
Expectation issues and then irritation.
They become a little rebellious and all of those things also happen. So if you're giving screen time, I would recommend television with, you can monitor the content that you're giving.
And do you suggest, I have a very important question here because I'm also facing that kind of a problem. Do you suggest if a kid is being adamant to something or is being is demanding something, and as you mentioned that kids are getting used to it with today's technology. If a kid is crying or being very cranky, how do you handle that? Do you give them something after some task, or how do you handle that situation?
So it depends on your tolerance as a parent. So, there's this rule that if you say yes, you stick to your yes. If you say no, you stick to your no. So let's say if my child wants screen time, or let's say if I'm at a dining table or whatever, I've gone for a dinner, and my son is like, I want your phone. And if I say no to him, and he starts crying, that no, I want it, and he's creating a fuss, and then I give it to him. That is something that we avoid.
Yes, because he's
picked up a pattern in between that, no becomes yes when I do this.
So he's learned that.
Learned that. So if you understand that, this is a place where I don't have an option, or, this is, I don't have the tolerance to go through 1 hour of crying, or I do not want to disturb everybody around me. So if you are saying, then you say yes to your child when he'll ask you for it. And then you tell him, okay, I'm going to give it to you, but I want it back in 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
So you create some that kind of a boundary or a discipline?
Yes, you create a boundary. So you set a consequence, like, I'm going to take it back. And so yes means yes, no means no. So do not change your no into a yes after a lot of crying and howling. So you stick with your no. So even if so let's say if I'm at home and if my son is asking me for something and I feel that I have the luxury of time, I can go through the crying and I feel that this is not good for my child, then if I say yes, I stick with my, if I say no, I'll stick with the no, no matter how much he cries in between.
Because you have that time.
Yes, because now he understands that if my mother says no, she means no, even if I cry a lot.
And I believe the thing that you're mentioning is where the kid starts to pick up this trait that if they cry, do be cranky, they start getting a lot of attention. पूरा घर पीछे आ जाता है.
Yeah, that's a joint family
है ना? So
thing. Yeah.
maybe the kid is slowly learning कि मैं ऐसी चीज करूंगा, कुछ तोड़ूंगा, कुछ फेंकूंगा तो बहुत attention मिलती है.
Attention milti hai, and they understand that adults cannot go through this for too long, so they'll eventually give in. And children have more energy than us,
Yeah.
so they can cry for as long as they want, but we'll definitely have to, we'll feel like giving in. And they also know the threshold कि 20 minute के बाद अब बस मिलने वाला है मुझे. So they are very smart. I actually saw a very interesting thing. I think it was Delhi or Bangalore airport. So there was this Japanese family, like four people in the family and a little kid, and the child kept crying, and they did not open their mouth. Like all four of them were like just standing, and they just kept looking at the child. No change in expression, no verbal communication, and it wasn't like they left the child. They were there with the child, but they did not react. They did not give any facial expressions. No smile, no communication, and in just within 3 to 4 minutes, the child was completely okay.
Yeah. I've seen that actually, and I've observed my kid also to make a funny thing. What he does is if I avoid something that he should not get at the time, and I'm being strict and I'm presenting discipline to him, he starts crying. He does this thing that he's crying and he's going in the corner. What he does is he starts looking from the side. Like he will look at me and he's checking कि कुछ आ रहा है क्या, कुछ अभी होने वाला है क्या, and I keep on looking that, and it's quite funny. But I hold it to a extent that he learns that this was a no. And you do anything, you won't get it in that time. जैसे कभी कभी वो गाड़ी में चलती गाड़ी में if he's opening his own seat belt, I stop the car and we don't move for some time. Yes. We do his counseling, we tell him that it should not be done. Yes. We'll not come take you out for any trips or something. So he slowly is learning ये तो डांट पड़ रही है and it is not right, and गाड़ी चलनी बंद हो जाती है. So he is stopped doing that.
Yes.
So maybe these kind of disciplines that you are rightly mentioning, I am also experimenting these things.
Yes, yeah.
But I think they're very crucial. Otherwise, the kid will take over, and over a point in time,
yes,
the frustration sets in after that.
So we have to first understand that what is discipline, because most people do not get it right. Because most of us think that discipline means that gussa karna hai, डांटना
beating and all that.
But it's actually not that. Discipline actually means protection.
Yeah.
So it's like scientific, like when we were evolving as a species, so we were living in the jungles, and there were like a lot of wild animals and fire and all of that. So we, the reptilian part of the brain, the main function of the brain was to protect us from danger. So every time we saw like a wild animal, we used to either fight or we used to run away from it. And the memory of the brain has remained, and all of this information has been transferred to us generation after generation.
We still have fight and flight with us.
Yeah, so now what happens is, now of course when our children are going close to fire, we will not allow our child to go close to fire, because we already know from our experiences from the past that fire is dangerous. So you're protecting your child, or you're stopping your child from doing something which can have a harmful consequence.
Yeah.
So that is what discipline is. So it is from a place of love and protection. But some of us,
there's a discipline that you're rightly mentioning. There's a discipline from an angle of care and love, and there's a discipline from an angle of frustration.
Yeah, so that frustration thing is actually not discipline. It actually becomes like emotional
It's an outburst.
torture.
It's an outburst that if you are carrying something, if you are having some problem or trauma that you are carrying from your life, you're now giving it to your kid.
Yeah, also you're trying to sort of, it's your ego basically, that, I'm the parent, you better do what I'm asking you to do. I know what's right for you.
And we have seen that in some movies and some places.
That is what, children do not resonate with.
And it will just backfire, and sometimes you just enjoying it because it's the age difference right now.
Yeah.
You will see the fruits after 15 years.
Yeah, so this is a good point, because initially children do things because they're dependent on us for food, clothing, shelter, protection.
Let just 15 years pass and the court will change.
Yeah, and that's what happens. That's why a lot of children choose not to stay with their parents.
Yeah.
Because parents do all of this, and
they remember everything. They realize the pros and cons and everything in the teenage is what I believe.
Teenage, even as adults, a lot of children choose not to stay with the parents because they don't have that connection.
Yeah, true.
So I think creating good memories with children is very, very important, because that's the only thing I feel, in fact, that will bring your child back to you.
True.
Because now the world is so full of distractions. So because children will grow up, they'll be financially independent. So there's no real need for us as parents. They don't really need us. Now they have a choice whether they want to come back to us. And for you to give them that choice, you have to be in that zone.
Riddhi, I want to understand about the Down syndromes that are happening in pregnancies. How does that affect the parent? It might be very difficult for them to handle.
Yes. Yeah, so it's very, very difficult because we've spent 9 months, and during those 9 months, you're always like dreaming ki girl hogi, ki boy hoga, and you have this picture of your child that you've already imagined.
A lot of events also start happening.
Events have started,
Baby
you've planned a
shower.
lot of things, and so when there's this very beautiful article which is called "Welcome to Holland" by Emily Pearl.
Okay.
And very beautifully she explains, she talks about that, imagine that you're traveling and you plan to go to Italy. And you've decided a lot of things that, I'm going to go for a gondola ride, I'm going to go visit the Colosseum and all of that.
Yeah.
And then when you land, everybody is welcoming you and they say, welcome to Holland.
Okay.
So you thought that you're going to Italy, but you actually landed in Holland. Now the thing is that Holland is not a bad place, but it's not Italy.
But it is not something
Italy.
what you have been
You've
imagining all this while.
Exactly. So it's relatively very slow. It's not as fancy as you thought it would be. And people that you hang out with in Holland are very different from the people you would have met.
Everything will change, I think.
So everything changes.
Your packing changes.
Yes, everything changes. And that's exactly what happens, when you're imagining. So you're thinking that, my child is going to be this, that, and whatever. And what you get is very different. So, the first thing that you go through is like you encounter some darkness. You feel that, my life has completely changed. Why me? Why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? And you're in that whole zone where you're not able to accept the whole thing. And then what happens is that you enter a phase which is like you're converting that darkness. You are trying to make peace. You've understood that this is what it is. And I have to, now be there for my child because this is my child. I cannot be in this energy for too long because this is my child and I really love my child. So now you've started accepting that thing.
So you have to actually erase everything that you created in the 9 months, go to the rock bottom feeling of becoming a parent and then start.
Yes. This is very beautifully explained in these 4 stages. So, you encounter darkness, then you convert that darkness, and then you enter this beautiful state which is called encountering light. Right now, you start to feel those spiritual feelings in you that, maybe, God has put this challenge in my life because I'm meant to grow spiritually or I'm meant to grow emotionally. And I have my own lessons to learn through this experience. And then you actually start to reflect light, which means that you have spent your time researching, working with your child, and now you want to support other parents who are going through it. So it would not be easy for you in the beginning, of course. It is not easy for anybody to go through that feeling.
I think there's a lot of social pressure also when this happens because of till now in 9 months, a lot of social buzz was happening around the pregnancy and you don't know how people will react actually.
I think, yes, of course that is there, but I think that time you're so consumed with your own feelings that you're not too worried about what people think. Because as a parent, like you're in a state of shock right now. Because, I've had, interactions with parents.
That is, I think, the first start of the shock. But I think the time that you take to come out of it is also the social circle that you have. At times, if your social circle is very spiritually awakened, you will come out of it very smoothly.
Very soon,
But if your circle is not spiritually awakened, so maybe you will find a lot of rigidness.
Yes, so so the transition from one stage to the other will be different from different
that is
parents.
what, like you spoke about the darkness state. So definitely the first interaction is your own shock. But when you start to float out of it, then you face a lot of resistance.
You face a lot of resistance. Also, you get a lot of support also. So I think it is both. And it would depend on your circle and your family.
I think the rigidness and the sort of the resistance is in your own head because the mind comprehends a lot of negativity.
Yes.
Although you might be getting support, you might comprehend it as negative.
Yes, exactly. That also happens a lot, because when you're in that vulnerable position, even support can feel like, they're trying to be, show pity or
sympathy, or something. People don't the mother might get offended on that, but because the mind is turning switch of negativity.
Yes, yes. But I also feel that, it's like, once a mother, you would really like do anything for your child, which is mostly what, so you get out of that zone very fast. But there is this phase where you get lost in your child's world also. And this is what I recommend mothers that I have interacted with, that of course, your child has come with whatever delays and disability. And of course, as a mother, you want to give your best, you want to do the best for your child, but you also need to take good care of yourself.
Yeah, true.
Because sometimes, as mothers, we are so giving that you would do so much for the child that you'll forget that you have a life of your own.
True.
And you would not take good care of yourself. You would not spend any time with your husband, and you would feel that, this is my responsibility, and I don't know if I should. Like, I'll give you an example of a mother that I interacted with. So she has a child and he has some delays and disabilities, and he's not able to walk properly, and she has to do a lot of exercises with him. And there's a lot of pressure on her to have a second child.
Okay.
Now she's in this whole dilemma that, if I have a second child,
Yeah.
which even she wants to, because she also wants a healthy child, and, that she can call her own. So she wants a second child, but she's also in this dilemma that if I bring this child, what about my first child? Who's going to, take him for his classes and exercises and therapies and all of that? So I do not want to bring another child and ignore my first child.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of pressure on you to plan your life also, because everything that you do, everything that you plan would revolve around this child now.
True.
Your holidays, your social commitments, your personal commitments, the way you would design your life would completely
Yeah,
change.
you have to be bigger and wiser to handle this situation
Yes.
now.
So everything changes completely. So now you just have to, you just have to accept it and grow. And also, one more thing is that you have to keep yourself updated, because let's say if your child is born in whatever 2000, let's say, but maybe by 2010 there is a new technology that can help your child. But sometimes what happens is that, we give up hope too soon. So we check, maybe when our children were born, that I checked a few things, and there was no proper treatment for it, or there was no proper solution to it. And now you're still, because you've not updated yourself, you're still feeling that, there's not much that I can do.
Yeah.
But if you keep reading and if you stay updated,
That
then
helps.
for all you know, there may be something new that's come up that can really help your child and can improve the whole process very quickly for your child.
True.
So I think, it's not easy, but I just feel that children are beautiful gifts from God.
Yeah.
And I think when God takes away a few things, He also blesses with a lot more.
I think parenting itself is a journey of spirituality.
Yes.
There should be a part of it involved in whatever experience you go through in the 9 months, so
Yes.
that whatever comes your way is something you welcome. And it's
Yes.
only welcoming that you do.
Yes.
So I think that should be there.
Yes.
Riddhi, now when the kids are growing up, when they're growing up very fast and technology is growing very fast, tell me, what is the right age that a parent can start discussing about the kids' sexuality or the sex education? What do parents do about that?
So usually now, parents start talking about safe touch, unsafe touch, pretty like when children are like 3 to 4, they start telling them about setting boundaries, about consent, that, you should not allow anybody to touch you without your permission. And, there's this thing called safety bubble. So even, like my son, when he was around 4, he was taught this in school. So if somebody would enter his personal bubble, he would be like, don't enter my personal bubble.
Okay.
So they are, it was not there during our times, but now it's, the education system has also evolved. So children would not allow that. So you can start talking about, safe touch, unsafe touch, personal boundary, and consent when your child is in that age group 3 to 4, 5, maybe. And after that, like when your child is in the age group 10 to 12, 13, that's when you can talk. And also when they're young, you can actually talk to them about different family structures.
Yeah.
Like, like my son was actually asking me one day that, can a family have 2 fathers? Right? So you can actually be very...
These curiosities have to be addressed.
That, why do families only have mummy and papa? Why not? Why can families have 2 fathers, or families have 2 mothers? So you want to tell your
Kids
child
can
that-
definitely think all of that.
Yes, and they are very creative.
Yeah, because they don't know the dynamics, the mechanics of everything.
Yeah, and also because children are so exposed to information now, and they're hanging out with different age groups. So, like my son is going on a bus to his school, so there are different
Different
age
age groups,
groups, right?
listening to all the
So
things.
he's listening to all the senior
Yeah,
boys,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's seeing what's happening. So one day he came back and he's asking me, "Mommy, what is gaming?" So I was like, "Why are you asking me that?" She's like, "No, mommy, one boy from my on my school bus was teasing another boy and he kept calling him gay."
Oh.
So, so these things, so then you have to tell your child, when they ask you, you give them the right answer. So then, I think around 6 to 10, 12 is when you can start opening conversation about what these words mean. And you can keep it very like an open communication, no judgment kind of a thing, so that if your child is experiencing any of those feelings, they can come up and speak to you. Because if you've never had these conversations with them and they start to feel that way about themselves, they might not be able to come and speak to you.
Yeah.
But if you've told them, if you've normalized the content, and if you told them that it's completely okay
Yeah.
to be gay, it's completely okay to be a lesbian, so when your child is experiencing that, your child is feeling, okay, it's completely okay to be who I am.
Yeah.
And they are not going through that whole pressure test that should I go and tell my parents, or should I go and tell my, you know, anybody.
Yeah.
So my son, when he asked us that question, so my husband was very, normal about it, and he actually did the explaining, and he told, yeah, that's completely okay. That's gay means a boy likes a boy, and that is completely okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
So,
Good.
and I was like, wow. He was like, yeah, because, we don't know. He
Yeah,
might be
yeah,
gay for all you know.
yeah.
So I was like, yeah, maybe. And he was like, I want him to have the confidence to come up to us and tell us that, I'm.
Yeah, and not get into some bad escapes in life.
Yeah,
because
because
then
you're always living a life that is not
if
your
the
life.
parents are not supporting, then the kids go to a lot of bad
Yes,
things.
and I think if the family is supportive, then children do not care about what the world thinks.
Yeah.
It actually, the pressure comes mainly from the family.
The inner circle.
The innermost circle mostly. If the innermost circle is there to support you, the society also supports you
The
eventually.
kid will take care of most of the things.
Yeah, the kid would take care, even the society would not
Yeah,
mind it
yeah,
eventually.
yeah, true,
But
true,
if the
true.
innermost circle has a problem, that's when the societal problems also start to creep in,
True.
and the
A lot of
child
things
also
will come
starts
in.
to get affected.
They'll get anxious, they'll get a
Yes.
lot of complex and a lot of
Yeah, and
things.
there are so many cases where I get my parents are like, doing sessions with me that, my son wants to put lipstick and I'm very scared. Or my son is always wanting to put nail paint. Or my son wants to play with Barbies. So I'm not sure what to do. Should I allow him or should I take away the Barbies from him? So, those cases, I tell him, let him do what he wants to do. He's a kid. This is what we transfer to them, and these are things we cannot change.
Yeah,
So, if it is, it is. You better accept it as a parent.
Yeah.
And you also make it easy for your child to come up and speak with you about it.
True.
So, I think when they're like 7, 8, you can start telling them, answering their questions if they come up to you and they ask you these kind of questions, like my son did. And a good time to open a proper conversation would be around 12, 13, when
they start
they
entering
already
the
know it, but now they know that even you know it as a
Yeah,
parent.
yeah. So
Because
that's the
by
time.
12, I'm sure like most kids these days, they know everything. In fact, they might know more than we do.
Yeah.
So, but just having this conversation with them allows them to understand that, my parent is aware
Yeah.
and my parent is also okay with these things.
Yeah.
So that makes them feel very strong
Yeah.
about it. And also, talking about, you know, sexually transmitted infections and the importance of contraceptions, and all of that is very, very important when your child is 16, 18, about social media bullying, about not sharing your images on social media, having conversations about things like, if in fact, if by chance you end up sending your pictures to somebody or pictures which you should not have shared and
Yeah.
now you're being blackmailed,
Yeah.
do not be scared to come and talk to me about it.
That is, I think, the bonding that a parent needs today.
You need to tell them these things.
Yeah.
Because if they do it, they should know that my parent knows and this person is blackmailing me, but my parent had told me that you can come and speak to me about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to shout at you.
This.
So now the child is feeling strong.
Yeah.
So it's very important for us to have these conversations, like you might end up falling in love with a boy, but that boy might not like you, or you might
Yeah.
end up falling in love with a girl, but she might not like you, and that's completely okay. You find somebody else. Just
Yeah.
because somebody else is not reciprocating the love does not mean
They
that
should
you're not good
understand what
enough.
it is, what frequency is, what chemistry is, how to bond,
Yeah.
how to know that the bond is
And how
forming,
not to judge yourself
not to
based on how other
force.
people are loving you or not
Yeah,
loving you back.
yeah,
Well, there's so many cases of suicides
yeah. A
and
lot of them
all of
are
those
happening.
things that are happening because, children are feeling that they are not loved.
Yeah.
And they feel that, there was this case where, like two best friends, and this boy was dating a girl, and then the girl started dating the boy's best friend, and then the boy ended his
Oh.
life, and young guy. So, so these things happen because, they don't have that support system to go back to. They're scared to communicate or share what they are going through. So keeping a very open communication, I think that's the key to everything.
True.
Open,
But
non-judgmental communication
that conversation is
is the
very, very
basis
important.
of a healthy relationship with your child. Also, the basis of your child having a healthy relationship with himself or herself.
Yeah. But this is very like it requires a lot of awareness. It requires an awareness in the parent. Now I want to also know, Riddhi,
Awareness and acceptance.
acceptance blood plus a lot of times a parent might have had their own childhood trauma, let's say.
Yeah.
Does that impact today's parenting when they become a parent? Is that happening?
Yeah, a lot. And because that your trauma will affect the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important that if you've identified, like in a lot of, so you'll see two types of people. One, they are fully aware that, I know that I'm going through this because of this, but I'm not able to control it. And then there is one category where they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, when you do all that childhood regression and you take them back in time, that's when they start to identify that, now I understand why am I this person.
Because they will need it, otherwise they will just transfer it to their kids.
Yeah, so there's both good and bad. Sometimes, like what happens is, let's say if you're as a parent, you did not get in a lot of love, or you were tortured or anything as a child.
Yeah.
So sometimes it could also be the opposite. Like you might overdo the love part.
Yeah, then it might become an obsession. And a lot
Yeah,
of
that
time, maybe
I did
if
not
you
get it, so I'm going
I'll
to
get, yeah.
overdo it for my child.
Because you're now in that mode that मुझे नहीं मिला था तो मैं उतना ही ज़्यादा दूंगा.
उससे भी हाँ बहुत ज़्यादा. So then what happens that balance between love and control. So there are like two dimensions that you need to follow as parents. One is a lot of love and care, but there has to be an element of control.
Discipline.
Because if there is no control, again, you're doing more harm to your child. And this is seen a lot these days, especially because of social media, I would see, that just keep giving love, and make your child your best friend, which should not be the case because our children are becoming our bosses. So there has to be a lot of love and care, but there also has to be some boundaries that you set for your child. Because without those boundaries, even your child would feel insecure. Your child would not know what to do. So it's very important to balance both these things. And trauma, of course, if you've identified it, you should go through, go to experts to help you out of it. Daily meditation, yoga, exercises,
that should come in.
vitamin supplements, all of those things are absolutely staying in a good environment.
They should actually start
Practice.
intervening this. Otherwise, they
Yeah,
at least get aware, and first the awareness comes in, and then only the
Yeah, and it is a
intervention will step
process.
in.
It's not like a one day thing. It is a process, but the sooner you start to accept that it is in you and you start to work on it, it will really help your child. Because otherwise, definitely you would transfer it to your child
it will
in
pass
some
on.
way or the other, and it would not
Because
be
they are observing you.
good for your child. Yeah.
Also, tell me, Riddhi, like there are a lot of mothers who are the kids are in their teenage. These mothers are getting exhausted at work. A lot of work pressure, a lot of things. When they come back home, they don't have their 100% to give to their kids now, but the kid is demanding 100%. How do they communicate to the kid that the kid should also start learning that the mother is only going for the job for his or her benefit only. At a lot of times, the mother is maybe it's a single mother at times, or maybe the mother is the family is not financially well off. Both the parents are together making a living. So how does that mother communicate to the kid? Like, because it's a difficult situation for a mother.
Right, but also children would need parents.
Yeah,
That is there. It and nobody said that only being a mother is quite challenging, and being a working mother, of course, it could be doubly challenging. At
Because
times.
for example, if they're almost drained when they are coming back home. Now, how do they double up the energy? You only have enough.
Right. So I always say that, practice some sort of self-care and
Okay.
have the right expectations. So you get irritated when you're not prepared. So, like working on your energy, planning your day in a way that, you're not fully burnt out when you get home is also very important. Of course, there would be days where there is a lot of work, but every day coming home and snapping would also not be good. But so we snap, we get irritated, we get frustrated when we are not doing anything for ourselves.
True.
So first, fill up your energy bank. Also, let's say if you're going home and you're feeling that you don't have the energy, you let your child know in advance. Maybe make a phone call or tell your child in advance that, I'm coming home. Today I'm very exhausted and I just want to let you know in advance. So if there is anything that you need me to do, I'll be able to do it post
So the
7
kid
p.m.
is prepared.
So yes, so prepare the child and also prepare yourself.
Okay.
But just going home
that's a
and
good
just
way to
blaming
handle
the
it.
child that, I've come, you're not thinking about me, you're not worried about how much I have worked, and you're just throwing work at me. Not a good
I like the
idea.
idea that there should be some sort of preparation. Either you tell the father or there's someone at home
Yeah.
that today I'm not well, maybe I'm very
You
drained.
set a
I might
boundary.
not be able to get involved in a lot of things that you might have planned.
Yes.
So just that preparation might help.
Yes. Also, you can set a boundary. Like, let's say if you have identified that thing about you that after coming back, you need
Half an
half an
hour
hour
or
or
so.
1 hour to get back to family. Then you set that boundary for your family that once I step in for half an hour, I'll not be available.
We like maybe set a boundary that I'll come, we'll speak after shower, maybe.
After shower or something like that,
Something like that.
So then they are more prepared. And if you want to have this conversation with your child, then maybe a weekend would be a nice time when both of you are in a good mood.
Yeah.
And have this conversation that when I come back from work, I've been meaning to discuss this with you, but I've not been able to do it. So is it okay if I share this with you? So with teenagers, you have to take permission. You just cannot tell them that this is what I want to tell you, this is what you should do. So with teenagers, you should, even when you're having a conversation, you want to ask them first that I want to speak to you, is this a good time? Because that's because if you do that, that's when they will actually want to open up and
you have to become friends. You have to be at a stage of a friend, like
yes, exactly. And you have to treat them like adults, and you have to understand that their time is their time, and you cannot like just so like these are some things that my parents really did well. So like when we were entering teens, so my father used to make sure that he's knocking the door before he gets in.
Yeah.
And even my mom, she used to knock before she enters. And we used to feel weird sometimes that, why they're doing it. But now, when I'm speaking to so many parents and they tell me, like, even if I enter my child's room, she like, how did you come so suddenly? Why did you enter my room? Because they might be doing things on their laptop. They don't want to get caught. So,
They get
now I
offended.
tell them that, how about just knocking the door? And every time I give that suggestion, I'm reminded of how my parents used to do it. And so, these small things can really make a lot of difference in your relationship, especially with a teenager.
I think parenting is a really a big time and a full-time job. You have to be well prepared for it. You cannot just take it very casually.
Yeah, and that's the word that I keep telling mothers, prepared. Like, I think if there is one thing that you need to learn about parenting, there is, be prepared. Like having expectations, like I have a 3-year-old and my child is crying. Of course, a 3-year-old will cry.
Yeah.
So if you are expecting to be a mother and have a 3-year-old who never
You should have known this.
who never cries, then you would always be an irritated mother. But if you're prepared that, okay, I have a 3-year-old and it's normal for a 3-year-old child to cry, then it would not be irritating.
I think this is the preparation that should happen in the 9 months rather than just having balloons and parties. This should be the preparation that this is what will happen. You should know the real side of when you become a parent.
Yes. And this is what I was having this interview with BBC Hindi.
Okay.
So they asked me one very nice question that if you could change one thing or one reform in parenting, what would that be? So I was like, I would make it compulsory for every hospital to educate mothers when they are pregnant.
Yeah.
Just like, when they're writing vitamin D, ultrasound, and all of that, it would be so amazing if they could actually tell us that, you're 1 month pregnant, how about you read this? How about you read this? Just educating them about postpartum depression while they are, in their pregnancy it would just make the mother so much more aware of what she can go through once she gives birth. So she can actually start with her supplements, plan a little exercise, meditation. It would just make it so easy. But just because there is a lack of information, awareness, and sometimes, even as mothers, we are in our own world and we don't have the time to educate ourselves. And I was pretty much like that, I just gave birth and I was like completely lost. And after I went through my whole messy situation, that's when I understood how important it is to actually learn and then do it.
True.
Yeah.
It was amazing talking to you, Riddhi. So many good insights I personally have got, and I'm sure our viewers will enjoy this conversation.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
Hi, thank you for watching till the end. I hope you really liked the video. Please do comment below and tell us your feedback, and also tell us the guests that you would like to have on the show. We will definitely try and invite them and have on the show to discuss different aspects of well-being. Also, please do not forget to like, subscribe and share, because that helps us to reach out to more and more people to have the impact that we are working for. Thank you very much.